Okay, hello and welcome. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com, and we are here for a new session that explores the types of data that really matter to different organizations. Big data, disparate data sources, and how an organization's needs should influence the evaluation of BI solutions for Microsoft Dynamics. We have a returning speaker with us today. He is Garth Laird, Chief Operating Officer at BI and Reporting Solution Provider Zap. We're really glad to have him back today for this event. So as we get started, please know that you can ask your questions. Today we'll be saving time at the end. You can use the Q&A block or the chat that you'll see on the right side of the webcast session here. And without further delay, Garth, let me hand it off to you.
Jason, just a sound check. Coming through okay?
Yep, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. Well, Jason, thank you so much to MS Dynamics World for hosting this. This is not an infomercial today for Zap, but Zap does a lot of work with MS Dynamics World. We really respect the amount of stuff they deliver for the Dynamics community in general, and so it's wonderful to be able to do these webcasts with Jason and the team at MS Dynamics World. Look, as Jason said, I'm going to have a bit of a chat today for the next half an hour to 45 minutes around a range of topics, including big data, including the history of BI, and including BI as it relates to Microsoft Dynamics and the solutions included in that stack. For those of you that are coming in from other countries today, I'm actually based in North America, but I do know that we've got a world or global audience today. So for some of you, it's good morning, and for some of you, good afternoon, etc. So I just hope you enjoy the session, and it's going to be hopefully a fairly punchy and direct session just about the experience I've seen over almost 25 years of both ERP and BI and how those things relate together. So without sort of holding it up, I thought I'd get straight into it. The agenda today really is I'm going to just do a little bit of a background on myself. And the only reason I'm doing that is I've been on so many of these calls over the years where, you know, a young sales guy or a junior consultant has been asked to talk about a topic that really does affect people in a great way. And the acquisition of BI as a solution for a business for customers such as yourselves who are on the call is a very big undertaking. It should not be taken lightly. So I've been doing this for a long time. Just a bit of background about myself. Then let's set the scene just around Dynamics and BI in general. Probably pretty important to just talk about the history of BI because I think it's important to see where it's gone or so where it's come from and where it's potentially going. A little bit of a chat about big data and what's really important for Dynamics customers. And then looking at the things that you might want to consider when evaluating a selection of BI for your company, and also the sort of customer pain points that I've seen over so many years, and a lot of them are very similar across all ranges of customers. Finally, a bit of a Q&A and give you the chance to ask some questions that might come out of what I talk about. Look, firstly, personally, whether or not I'm qualified or not, you guys can be the judge. But look, I've been doing this around ERP, unfortunately or fortunately, from around about 89 to 90 onwards, and I've been involved in the Dynamics ecosystem since about 1995, so 20 of those years around Dynamics. I won't go into that, but had a heavy involvement around Dynamics globally since that time throughout the Microsoft acquisitions of all the different products, etc., and way before that. As a result of that, I've had an opportunity, and as you can tell by the accent, originally I was from New Zealand, lived a lot for many years in Australia, I've lived in Europe. I'm now living and residing in San Francisco in North America, and also worked extensively through South America. So throughout that time, I've had touch points with literally thousands of customers in many different segments, many different industries, both small, medium, and large, across the Dynamics ecosystem. And as a result of that, I think I might have some experiences that hopefully might help you. The good thing is that what we concentrate on today a lot in is mid-market to true enterprise. So as an organisation that I work for today, Zap, we're spending a lot of time with organisations that have revenues from 50 to 100 million, right up to customers that we have that have revenues, of 8 to 10 billion dollars, and all the variances in between all of that. So what's interesting is as you go through selling and working and deploying and sometimes also almost becoming friendly with a lot of these customers, such as yourselves on the phone, you find a lot of the things that are pain points for customers of all different sizes are similar. The last 3 years, based out of San Francisco, I've personally been involved in probably 120 or more BI sales of all different sizes in mid-market and enterprise. The interesting thing about that is that's across a lot of the different Dynamics products, and one of the things I will talk about today is making sure that your BI selection is not for Dynamics, it's for a particular product in Dynamics, and the data sources that you have surrounding that. That's a very important aspect to it. And like I said, what we tend to find, and what I've seen over so many years, is the majority of the issues for customers are fairly similar. Obviously, a big box retailer may well have different issues and different drivers than somebody in process manufacturing or somebody in local government. But at the end of the day, the implementation of BI and the initial delivery points can be very similar, even though the data might be different. So just setting the scene, Dynamics is an incredibly vibrant, growing and incredibly diverse community. You've got, 4 ERP products and you've got 1 CRM solution. Those ERP products are different, and of course ERP and CRM is different also. Now we're starting to get a lot of customers now that are deploying both an ERP product from Microsoft as well as the CRM solution, and so they're starting to actually bring those together. But when you're actually looking at BI, quite often the skills are different within both yourselves as an organisation, as a customer, and also the partners that support you. So one thing that is very important to think about, especially from the point of view of the ERP community around Dynamics, is saying that you are going to buy a BI product that supports Microsoft Dynamics ERP is a bit of a misnomer. A product that might support Solomon may have totally different characteristics, price points, capabilities, and people resourcing it than a product that is going to support AX. So you need to look very carefully at the market positioning of those products, and then make sure you align yourself when you're looking at your BI needs to either what comes out of the box, if you believe that's what is necessary for you to achieve your goals, or to a third-party ISV like Zap, to make sure that what you're actually buying is actually made for and designed for the type of customer you are and the type of platform that you've actually deployed. And all 4 of those platforms there are wildly different. In addition to that, and this is not a criticism, it's just a reality, the Dynamics partners, whether it be in North America, whether it be in London, or whether it be throughout Europe or Asia Pacific, in general, and this is a generalization because there are some that have BI departments and some of those are growing, but in general, the Dynamics partners that you are working with to deploy your CRM or ERP solution for Microsoft are normally fairly unskilled in BI. It has not been a focus area for most of them. In a lot of cases, the Dynamics partners see BI as a bit of an issue because it is so different. It's a different skill set, and a lot of them try to actually keep BI out of the ERP and CRM sales cycle. And I want to talk to that today about how that probably isn't a good thing and how you need to start considering it, not just after you finish deploying, but also when you are deploying. In addition to that, I think you've got to look at a lot of the vendors, and I'm not going to call anybody out today because that would be highly improper, but you need to really understand that a lot of the vendors are not necessarily always being 100% transparent about where their product will fit. And as I said, having a product and saying it's going to be available to be used by Microsoft Dynamics ERP, well, a $10 billion organisation deploying 17 instances of AX around the world as a process manufacturer is probably different to a $100 million company deploying GP in one instance just for finance, etc. As you can see, they're totally different companies, totally different organisations and needs, and as such, you've just got to be a little bit careful that what you're buying into is actually a product that's designed for you as a customer and your industry, and also the platform to which you've purchased. And the other thing too is that analytics and BI is why you actually invest in ERP or CRM. I know that sounds like a crazy statement, but here we are in 2015, and very quickly, after 30 or 40 years of ERP investment and probably 10 to 15 to 20 years of CRM investment, what we're starting to see now, more often than not, is organisations are coming to market to buy ERP as a refresh using AX or NAV or GP, or coming to the market to refresh their Salesforce automation using Microsoft CRM. But they're coming to market knowing that the reason they're doing it certainly is to improve the processes within the business, but also more and more often now they're doing it to get better information out of those systems to deliver to the organisation to make better decisions and better insight. And so as such, analytics and BI is now becoming more integrated into the whole decision-making process for the acquisition of a ERP or CRM solution. And I think the other thing too is, and I'll talk to this during my session today, complexity in BI is so incredibly misunderstood and so totally discounted by the Microsoft Dynamics ecosystem. If you look at AX 2012 R3 now and on the way to AX 7, this is a complex, excellent ERP solution capable of running smaller businesses and now capable of running anything from large corporate multi-geography organisations globally, also to government departments. Across the board, we're starting to see a product like AX being deployed at an enterprise level. What people are misunderstanding is that the BI that is needed to support that is also very complex. And the complexity of BI seems to be incredibly misunderstood. It's discounted. The Microsoft ecosystem basically doesn't look at it as strategic, but that is all changing as we sit here and as I speak to you today, and that's one of the things I'll also talk to. So just looking at the history of BI and analytics, I think it's very important just to sort of dive into that just for a second, because it might give you a bit of an idea of where things have come from and where they're going. If I was to give you a history of ERP, it would be similar. You know, if you go back 30 years or 25 years, for those of you on the call that sort of come from, unfortunately, the age group that I do, you'd probably understand that if we look back, we'd all remember the J.D. Edwards and the Barnes and the PeopleSofts and of course Oracle Financials and SAP as it came through to what it is today. And that was how ERP started. And then of course it got pushed down into the mid-market and great solutions like AX were created and the NAV or Navision, etc. BI really didn't start in any different way. It started off with very much the enterprise BI vendors as wave one. I think all of you'd be aware of or will have heard of the Cognoses and the Hyperions and the business objects and the MicroStrategies, and these were excellent products. And these products, you know, created everything that you needed at a data level. They created all the cubes for multi-dimensional viewing, all the reporting and analytics and dashboards. They, you know, have self-service capabilities, and they also now have very good mobility stories as well. But remembering that these wave one vendors have come through from literally 20 or 30 years of investment, and that investment has not always been organic. A lot of it has been through acquisition. A lot of these little boxes here in all the different colors are many different products from many different vendors. So even though you're buying a wave one tool, it might have 13 or 14 solutions under the covers. So the actual connectivity is very disconnected. What that means is it's extremely expensive to maintain, possibly more often than not very expensive to purchase. And the cost of ownership in conjunction with your ability to actually get quick wins is very, very difficult. And possibly, except for on a very limited number of occasions, probably not the ideal BI solutions for Dynamics, even though now that AX and CRM pushing up into the enterprise, many of the enterprise customers that are buying Microsoft products around ERP and CRM have one of those enterprise BI vendor from Wave 1 solutions. We're starting to see a lot of those being replaced. And in fact, that ourselves at Zap are replacing a lot of solutions that were once seen as the premier solutions in BI globally. We're now starting to replace those as AX and CRM and other products are being delivered into those organizations. As a result of that complexity, as a result of those products being large and cumbersome and slow to deploy and expensive, there was an opportunity for a new range of products to come out, and those are, you know, commonly referred to as self-service vendors or Wave 2. And the Power BI product, which, you know, I can talk to later on if I get a chance, is certainly an example of that. This is an opportunity where you can actually download very quickly a product, end up with an in-memory database with some data that you want to analyze. It's client-side, so it's easy for you to be able to manage and operate. You've got nice visualizations, really great, pretty dashboards, etc., and mobility options. And so for business users, it was a very easy way to actually get involved in BI, where you didn't have to go through a corporate acquisition of a BI tool. You could do it under an operation budget versus a capital budget, and you can get going pretty quick. But what's come out of that, and that's now been a trend for the last 5, 6, 7 years, is there's been some very, very successful products in that area like ClickTech and Tableau, and they're extremely successful in what they do. But what's starting to come out now, and it's being seen more and more every day, is even though these products are easy to use, they're not enterprise ready, and they don't have good corporate governance. So you end up with lots of little fiefdoms of data all over the organisation. It's a CIO's nightmare where you're having management teams coming to meetings literally with many versions of the truth. And even though it's powerful, and even though it's good for quick analytics and a quick look at the business, it's not good for corporate BI and corporately governed BI, which is what all organisations in mid-market and enterprise need. So really, where we're getting to is a wave 3 vendor. And a wave 3 vendor would have in one product all of the things that you require, from the data management and the cubes to reporting to dashboards to self-service and mobility. It'll have that all in one product. It should have that all in a single architecture, so it should be a new Microsoft-based architecture, hopefully, and it should be all in one architecture. It should allow you to actually not only have self-service BI, where a finance team or a marketing team can go away and actually do their own analytical self-service around things that are important to them, but also it can actually have a C-level management structure that knows with comfort that the entire enterprise is using a data warehouse and a data platform that is giving one version of the truth, no matter who is actually interrogating it across the business. And that is incredibly important, and that will be the way of the future. The other thing is it needs to be productized, so you don't want to be building all of this. A lot of the self-service vendors and even the enterprise vendors, a lot of their tools are tools, and you still have to build a lot around that. What you should be looking for in Wave 3 is an opportunity to buy a solution, not really necessarily build it. And, you know, if I said to any of you in 2015, would you have built your ERP or would you have built your CRM solution, you'd probably look at me rather strangely as to what do you mean, why would we do that when we can buy AX or we can buy NAV or buy CRM? Well, there's nothing different in BI. You should be able to buy a product now that takes you a long way down the track and reduces your risk, and that's really what Wave 3 is about. And finally, it has to be modular. You don't want to buy all these things at once. You can buy them separately, but you know they're all part of one architecture. They all fit together, and they all actually make a lot of sense for you as a business because the time to value is so much quicker. So I think it's important just to think about that, is that you need to think about the fact that, you know, ERP as an example, SAP and QuickBooks are both ERP solutions, but you wouldn't probably use SAP or QuickBooks as the same business. You've got to think about that for BI vendors as well, as what is appropriate to your business as you start to look at BI as a strategic business asset deployed out into your organization. So the next thing I want to talk about, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but it is interesting. In the spring edition this year of the AXUG magazine, there was a cover article by myself on, is it big data or really lots of small data? And this sort of came out of, and I was asked to write this because this came out of a lot of discussions I was having actually with the AXUG executive, but also with literally dozens and dozens of customers where, you know, they've gone to acquire a BI solution, and all the vendors talking about is, oh, you know, we've got big data covered and it's so important for you, etc., etc. And I started looking at this and thought to myself, well, look, once again, there's always exceptions to the rule, but I'd imagine for the majority of people who are on this call today, you're not probably really dealing with big data. You're probably dealing with lots of smaller data, I would have thought. So, you know, when I get into looking at organisations that are large retailers that have massive point of sale systems, yes, certainly there is no doubt that they may have a big data requirement, and that might be something you have to really consider. But when I look at the majority of our customers, and these are customers that span from $50 million in revenue up to $9 or $10 billion in revenue, you know, most of our customers would top out at this stage in having a 2 to 3 terabyte data requirement, not 20, 30, 50, 100. And so really the issues that most of our customers are facing is that they don't really have big data issues, they have lots of little data issues. What I mean by that is AX or CRM or NAV, that is just one of the data sources they're dealing with. You know, we have an organisation that's involved in sports management and clubs, and at the end of the day, they're bringing in weather data from AccuWeather. That's just one of their data sources. We have a prospect we're working with at the moment that we hopefully will start working with full-time in the next week or two. And yes, CRM is very important to them. It really is an important part of their solution. But they've got 18 other data sources, some of these being very small, but being very strategic. Some of them are on-premise, some of them are Excel, some of them are SQL, some of them are non-standard Microsoft data sources, and some of them are data sources from the cloud. So I think what we're really dealing with in Dynamics is not so much big data. So those vendors that get hold of you and tell you about the importance of their big data strategy, well, that's wonderful. It may not be the right thing for you. I think what you need to look at is vendors that have actually got experience on bringing together the relationships between many data sources and making that into a solution where you can once again have corporately governed data out to the organisation. And I do think that is something to consider. I'd ask you if you get a chance to grab that magazine and have a read of those 4 pages. It's a pretty easy read. It also goes through the different ways of BI vendors, and of course, as I said, talks about that data sizing issue, which I think is just a bit of an overkill for what we do in Dynamics, and I think you need to think about that when you are looking to choose a BI solution. So now I just want to move on to a couple of pages of things that you need to consider. I'm going to go through these in some detail. Hopefully that'll round us out to about 30 to 35 minutes, and I'm going to be happy to take some questions. As I said, I'm going to make this a very punchy session. This is not about an hour-long BI educational a seminar. This is just about taking away some things that you can think about when you're acquiring or investing in BI. Look, the very first thing is that I think you just really got to think about it. For some of you, it may be too late. If that's the case, certainly people like Zap can help you with that. But look, if you're still looking to acquire an ERP or a CRM solution, try and make sure that the BI strategy they have is not something that you think about at the end. In general, the ecosystem of Dynamics is well tested and been shown to be very good at suggesting to all the customers that buy an ERP or CRM product, don't worry about BI, it'll be fine, let's get this deployed and then we'll worry about BI at the end. The problem is that for most of you, when you deploy an ERP product and CRM product from Microsoft, you're actually making a reasonable amount of changes in that product, and as such, tacking it on the end will mean that you might just not hit the goals. So I would advise you, even if you don't deploy BI during the process, that you really consider the outcomes that you need for the business, and there's ways of doing that working with a vendor like Zap. The other thing is make sure that you've got budget, time, and executive support. This whole tack it on the end type scenario tends to infer that BI is just such a small thing that'll just get bought, deployed, and within a couple of days you'll be up and running. Often with complex businesses like many of you on the call, the deployment of ERP may not be that much more complicated than the deployment of BI. Now, I'm not trying to frighten you, but the reality is BI is such an important aspect of allowing you to align and better manage your business. And the reality is to underestimate the time it takes and the cost of that is sometimes something that people trip over, and it can be very, very costly in so many ways. So make sure that you talk to people in the marketplace like ourselves, and that you have the right budget, and then you give it the right time, and you make sure the executive are behind it. Because if you get BI deployed in your business and pervasive, it will change your business tremendously. And we've got dozens of case studies and all sorts of stories and videos that support just how much we've actually lit up an ERP deployment with information that people never knew about after we deployed BI properly into an organization. The other thing is, get a number of opinions. The one thing you must not do, and whether or not you take my advice on this, it's going to be up to yourselves, but as I said before, the ERP and CRM community, or the partners supporting the ecosystem of Microsoft Dynamics globally, in general, do not have large levels of BI knowledge and expertise. So to actually rely on their opinion in regards to what solution you should buy or how you should deliver a solution into your business, I believe is absolutely incorrect, and you really should be going out to the market and looking around and getting some third-party advice. Some of the organisations we work with are some of the best in the world around ERP and CRM deployment, and they have amazingly happy customer bases, but they themselves acknowledge they don't have any understanding of BI. They don't attest to, and as such, quite often they'll be referring it to people like ourselves and others. And I would only ask you that you do this, because this is not a small decision, it is a very big one. And the other thing, which for some of the people on the call might be an interesting comment, there are Dynamics partners now seeing BI as an opportunity, but rather than actually getting very much involved, they become consultants about BI. So it's all about time and materials consulting on selection. I would be very careful about selecting a Dynamics partner who is not your partner of record to actually do some sort of independent BI search for you, given the fact that really they don't have any skin in the game, they don't really have that experience. I think it's a very very dangerous thing, and we're seeing all sorts of issues. We've got one prospect we're aware of that did that, and actually they've spent more money on trying to make a decision than they would have if they had actually made a decision and deployed a product, and they still haven't made a decision. So just be a bit careful of that. There are people in the marketplace doing that, and I don't personally believe that is in the best interest of any Microsoft partner or customer in the ecosystem. And also understand very much the experience that organisations have. There are a lot of organisations supporting BI solutions into the Dynamics community, and that's possibly a good thing. And these organisations are called independent software vendors, or ISVs, and Zap is one of those. But you've got to understand that if somebody has built an application in 2005 to hit Great Plains and do a good job there, and all of a sudden they're actually saying, well, we're actually a Dynamics vendor, we can support our product against a 1,200 seat AX deployment across 5 geographies, which are multi-currency, multi-company and extremely complex. Well, you just got to try and make sure that you don't get caught in that horrible situation where you've bought a product that says that they're applicable for Dynamics, but they're actually only applicable for one product in Dynamics, and that product might not be scalable, it might not be complex, it might not even have the right people supporting it. This is not a criticism, it's just something to say, be sure that what you're buying is made for purpose to which you need it. Remembering that every solution that we've ever sold to any Dynamics customer, in almost every situation, at least 80 or 90%, it's not just about the Dynamics data sources, it's also about other data sources. So just be aware that the products that you're buying can actually provide you with value across your whole business, and also that they were designed for the Dynamics solution to which you're deploying out. Then, of course, please look at this. And I know sometimes it's difficult. I'm involved in a deal at the moment where, unfortunately, BI has become a very difficult topic for a customer. They've gone live, they've got no reporting, and of course there's no budget, only because they never thought about BI needing a budget. Now we're trying to work out how can we actually squeeze a product like ours into their budget. We probably can't. We're probably going to have that discussion today. The problem is they're going to end up buying on price, which is a real shame, not value. That price will be cheaper. That product may or may not work. It'll probably take longer to deploy. The time to value will be much different. And almost always what we've seen is when you're buying on price around BI, which is such a strategic decision, it ends up being a train wreck for you. So, spending 125,000 versus 75 or 75 versus 50, that incremental difference can be so easily eaten up so quickly. If you've got a product that can deploy quickly, you can get some quick wins, and you've got a product that's designed for the architecture and the solution to which you purchased around Dynamics. So I'm not asking you to increase your budgets. I'm not saying that you should ever do that. What I'm saying is make sure that you allow the right amount of money to do the right job, because BI is not something that should be taken lightly, and it's a very good solution if it's deployed well. And, understand also that whatever you're investing in is complex. So the architecture of Dynamics is complex. The architecture of bringing data sources together is complex. The architecture of then getting all the relationships of all that data up to a presentation layer where you can have a dashboard with drill-throughs that give you high-level information for your C-level and drill-throughs for your management team and below is complex. And that's why 65 to 70% of BI projects fail, which is actually now a higher number than ERP projects, if you could believe that. And the problem with that is if you don't understand what you're buying, you don't understand why a product that you've bought is particularly designed for a particular solution, then chances are, as a customer, you'll never be able to take ownership. And if you can't take ownership, you'll have consultants in your business for all time. And believe me, having consultants in your business for all time is in 2 ways not correct. Firstly, as a vendor, I have no interest in that. I'd rather be in, transfer it over, have you as a happy customer, move on. Secondly, trying to sell that up the chain of management, that you need a consultant basically full-time or 2 consultants full-time deploying out your BI solution internally because you do not have the people, or you did not understand the complexity. That is not a good thing, and I've seen a lot of very, very unhappy end results personally for people as a result of that. And now here's a very interesting one, probably a little bit contentious, but I'm going to put it out there because it is so important. When I talked about Wave 3 vendors, what I talked about was a single architecture, a modular solution, a solution you could buy from a single vendor that has been designed to integrate with the ERP or CRM solution that you purchase. This is the way forward. Easily deployed, quickly deployed on-premise or in the cloud, quick wins, et cetera, et cetera. Some of the products that you're going to be looking at, and you won't know this unless you ask the questions, some of the products that you look at that are supporting the Dynamics ecosystem are not one product, they can be 2 or 3 products. Quite often those 2 or 3 products are not owned by the one vendor to which you're actually contracting, they're owned by other vendors. Those other vendors are not even existent, or not even, their R&D facilities are not even in North America. So if you're a North American customer, or if you're a European customer, or one in Asia Pacific, just make sure that what you're investing in, you understand what the IP is and who owns it. You understand the development paths, because at the end of the day, what you don't want to end up with is a solution that is going to be relied on by your business, not necessarily having a future, having development paths that are different within the actual solution itself, and eventually just not being available for the ERP or CRM solution that you've purchased, and therefore your investment becomes null and void and you have to go to market again. That's not in the interest of anybody, certainly not in the interest of you as a customer. Then moving on, I suppose the thing that's pretty obvious for all of you, but people just don't do it. Go and ask for a whole lot of references, and don't ask for references in Dynamics. Ask for references in your industry, of your size, of your complexity, and ask for references against people that have actually used it against the same ERP or CRM product which you're deploying. And make sure those references have been recent. There's no sense you getting a single reference that was deployed 3 years ago, only to find out that that particular BI vendor has not actually sold anything in the last 2.5 years. Try and find those vendors that are selling well in the ecosystem, that are very referenceable, that people are happy to talk about them, and that they've got customers that will speak. In the Zap business that I'm involved in, we quite often don't even do demos to customers. We actually have them speak to 3 or 4 references first, and sometimes only at that point they say, can we have a quick demo? We really see what it can do for us. We've heard the pain that it's managed to get through, and we're really happy to go. That's how we would sell. I do encourage you to do that, because there's a lot of vendors that are talking about that they have Dynamics products, but they might not have sold one against your particular solution or with your level of complexity for a year or so, and probably you don't want to necessarily get too much involved in that, because chances are they don't have the people or the knowledge or the skill to deploy it properly for you. And then finally, and here's just, this is the same for all software, I suppose. There's been that joke over 20 or 30 years that software salesmen are just an extension to new car salesmen. But at the end of the day, BI is now such an important aspect of what you're about to purchase or at some stage will implement. You can't get this wrong. If you do this right as an individual, if I've got any C-level executives on the line today, I'm sure I have, and I'm sure I've got everything from C-levels to sales directors to production managers. I know I've got various partners and Microsoft employees. The reality is, if you advise somebody at a customer level or as a customer, if you do this and you do it well, you'll go really golden in the business, because all of a sudden the business will see information they've never seen before. We have a customer that deployed about 9 months ago. Within 2 weeks, they found $2 million of inventory that they never realized they had. I don't think physically they found it, but they found it from an accounting point of view. That went straight to the bottom line. The couple of $100,000 they spent on Zap became meaningless, because within 2 weeks the return on investment was 10 times. So doing it well is a great thing. Now, doing it less than well can actually not be a great thing. Don't underestimate, when you're speaking to BI vendors, their ability to give you every bit of fear, uncertainty and doubt about what you should do, and also all the jargon like big data and all of those things that normally have no bearing on the decisions you need to make to get information into your business. So don't get confused by that. If it's done well, it can change your business. I've also done so much of this over the years. I've seen BI wreck dozens and dozens of careers as well. So don't get into that situation. It is a big move. It's not a tack on at the end. It's an important thing. So I just, really ask you spend the time to go out to the market, talk to Microsoft, talk to the partners, talk to people at MS Dynamics World. If it's AX, talk to AXUG or NAVUG, etc., or CRMUG. Talk to the people, and talk to people who've done this and take their advice, and then get to market and see what you think is the right solution for yourselves. Look, the final slide here today, so that I can wrap up and get a couple of questions hopefully, and we can talk about some things of interest, is the sort of customer pain that we see. Firstly, as I've said, and I'm just reiterating it, don't tackle it too late in the deployment of your ERP or CRM solution. We've got lots of customers that have made massive customizations to the ERP, which is fine, it's fantastic. But then they've got to the point where that's done and it's in process and they're deployed and ERP is working, and they realize they don't have their reporting or BI under control, and they haven't actually thought through what they actually changed in respect to their ERP processes, and a lot of the processes won't give them the information they need to run the business. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying you necessarily have to deploy a BI solution throughout the process of ERP or CRM deployment, but you should consider it, and you should actually think about, through your sprint developments, making sure that BI is thought of, so that maybe at particular stages you run up an environment to make sure that what you're going to get out of your ERP and external data source solution will give you the information to run your business. That's a pain for everybody. The other pain is coming to market and not really understanding where all your data is. You know, we've got an organisation at the moment, as I said, that has got CRM. They're going to have 18 or 19 other data sources. We have organisations that have just deployed AX, and it's going to be fantastic for them, but they've got 20 years of JD Edwards data that without that, it's of little use to them, so BI becomes useless. So just make sure that as you go into this, that you understand where all your data is, because at a C-level, if you're going to deliver BI out to the business and make it pervasive, you've got to make sure that marketing's taken care of, finance is taken care of, production's taken care of, and there'll be little fiefdoms of data that may not even be known to the business that you have to clean up and get into a data source that allow you to actually run the business properly. The other thing, don't underestimate the complexity of ERP or the customizations you put into it. At the moment, I don't know the exact number, so for any Microsoft people on the call, I apologize, but I certainly know that the AX 2012 R3 solution, without any industry solutions from ISVs or partners, has probably got 5,000 to 6,000 tables. Don't underestimate how hard that would be for you to sit down and create all the joins that would allow you to come up with some BI that would actually deliver out the value that you need in your business, considering the fact that not only have you got standard tables, you've got dozens or hundreds or sometimes thousands of non-standard tables that you've deployed as part of your deployment, and you've also got some other ISV apps there for specialty industry applications as well. Don't underestimate, and don't think for a second you can just build this out in a short amount of time. 80% or more of our customers, as they grow now quickly, that come into Zap, have had a go at building out BI on top of ERP. They've spent months, they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Often, unfortunately, people have lost their jobs because of it, and then they've come to us, and within weeks we've got our product deployed, we've got some quick wins into the business, and everybody sees the benefit of buying versus building, and then they can start to invest more and budget for it into the future. So please don't underestimate that. That's a real customer pain that becomes a personal pain as well. The other thing is don't think about the big bang mentality. You know, we have very large customers in our customer base, and it would be so easy for us to get caught in the projects and say, eventually we're going to have 36 dashboards, 500 KPIs, 1,000 column and row reports. Let's get all that into a project plan and let's get going. That project will never finish. Our product will never be referenceable. The people on that project may never work again. It is a bad strategy. The best thing with BI is to identify 5 or 6 outcomes that the business really needs that they can't get those done in 4, 6, 8 weeks, get them published out to the business, get the excitement happening, and go from there. That pain there, if you don't do that well, will cause more problem for both the organization and the individual and anything else I can think of. The other thing is, now, in my case, I probably know a little bit about most businesses because I've been working with a lot of businesses for a lot of time. And I'm sure there's lots of other people like me. But in general, don't expect that if you're a semiconductor manufacturer, that the 29-year-old or 35-year-old BI consultant sitting across the table from you, who's an expert in, as an example, Zap, is going to know every aspect of what it is to run a semiconductor business. They're not. So make sure that when you are doing this, you allocate the right people to spend time to come up with the right measures and metrics that allows a BI vendor to be very effective in conjunction with you as the customer. Don't throw it over the fence and say, here it is, here's the money, it's your project. That will not be successful for you, and it will not be successful for the BI vendor. And as an example in Zap, I will not allow that to happen. That is an absolute recipe for disaster, and a way to make sure in a vertical like Dynamics that people start to talk about the fact that your product doesn't work. Had nothing to do with the product. It's just you never had a chance because you didn't understand the industry. The other thing is make sure that you understand what comes out of the box. Now, there's BI capability in the box, in AX and NAV, etc. There's Power BI now, and I can talk to that if necessary. But you've got to look at what you truly need, and I can talk to that later. But make sure that you understand what you need and at what level you need it and at what time frame. And don't get caught up in BI as BI. Like I said before, SAP and QuickBooks. Think about that, and think about what you need as a business, and then make sure that you are not actually investing in a product because it costs nothing, only to find out that it costs you more than you could ever think of, both in dollars, both in time, and potentially also in career and business failure. So just be very careful of those things. And make sure that analytics is not a part-time focus. Once you get into deploying a full-scale ERP or Salesforce automation or XRM-developed CRM solution, make sure you realize that when you get into the analytical side, you're going to need a person to concentrate and focus on that. And that person will get repaid time and time over if you can get that person focused with a vendor like Zap and make sure they're delivering out good value. And of course, the other thing that's a customer pain, I get involved with so many high-level CIOs all the time, and their biggest pain, and whether it's IT directors or CIOs, their biggest pain is businesses coming to us asking for reports and analytics. We don't have the time, we don't have the context, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the people. The idea of buying a BI solution and working with a vendor and then transferring ownership is that the business should take ownership. And make sure that you change that paradigm, that when you invest in a BI solution, you're changing the paradigm so that the business will end up owning the outcomes that run the business, even though IS or IT might own the data level in respect to how that's processed. Don't ask IS or IT to own the business reporting and analytics. That's not their function, and quite often that's where BI once again fails. Over-engineering, don't over-engineer it. This probably goes back to the big bang mentality. Try and keep it simple. There's things that you can do straight away that will just relieve so much pain, and look for those. And that might also mean that you can get a smaller investment to start with and then work up to a larger investment. Now, in other cases, you need a large investment because BI is so overarching and there's literally millions or tens of millions, or some cases hundreds of millions of dollars to be managed or improved on by having an overarching BI solution. But just look at what's right for you and make sure you choose that. And then finally, I suppose, don't be frightened to realize that it's not going well, that there's scope creep everywhere, that you didn't do the right thing, you chose the wrong product, you didn't understand what was necessary, the business didn't get behind you, etc., etc. And if it's a partial or full failure, call that out quickly. Don't let BI go on for months and months and come out at the end of the year with one report and $750,000 being invested into a data warehouse to which your CEO and C-level management have got no visibility. All they see is the one report, which, by the way, still has wrong data on it. Don't get into that trap. Make sure you've got quick wins, scope that's easy to achieve, and get those out to the business. And if that's not happening, pull that back quickly and stop the project and relook at and reassess everything that you've got. So I think that's possibly around about 40 minutes, which was my target. That's my name, that's my role. For those of you who want to, that's my phone number, that's my email address. So, Jason, I don't know if I'd like to open it up for any questions at this point.
All right, let's do that. So we have the Q&A block to the right of the slides here, and we do invite you to ask your questions. A lot of different topics that were covered, and we'd really love to hear where you're thinking, where your challenges are right now. So one question that came in, currently we're embarking on creating a BI strategy. What advice would you give us at this point? I think early in the process.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think hopefully that's being dealt with in these slides to a certain extent, is that if you're looking to create a BI strategy, make sure you look at the market, get some advice from everybody you can, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's the particular user group to which the solution is that you're deploying for Microsoft, whether it's AX or CRM or NOV, etc. Talk to some of the partners, talk to as many people as you can, and spend a few weeks doing that, because I think what we're starting to see in general in our reach globally is most people now come to a sales cycle with 65% of the sales cycle completed. What I mean by that, if you go back 30 years, there was no ability to transfer information easily. The internet has changed everything, and most of the customers that come to us have already done a lot of research, and they're already sort of very, very well qualified about what they think's right. They might have 2 or 3 options. And so as a result of that, just do your research, call out as many as you can, get on the phone and ask them questions and try and pre-qualify, and make sure, and the only other thing I'd say is as you're going through that, make sure that whatever you decide on, you do a lot of reference checking, and that's the one thing I would say.
All right, another question. We were just at Convergence and we heard about Power BI. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, look, absolutely, and I think that's a great question. In fact, actually, if I think about it, and I won't do a Oh, that's good. It's just there. I actually had that here because I thought that might come up. Look, at the end of the day, Power BI as a solution by Microsoft is an extremely good self-service solution. If you're reading this paragraph that's on the screen here, what you'll start to realize is that Microsoft themselves, a lot of people in the ecosystem are realizing that what the Power BI solution does is it can work with solutions like Zap to provide an entire BI solution, but it probably is not an overarching BI solution in its own right. It's very much a self-service. So, when I did that slide before about the waves of vendors, Power BI is an extremely good self-service product and probably comes into that wave too. But for a lot of the organisations that we would work with, and we've just been at Convergence, we had 19 people at Convergence and just an amazing event for us. And we're just closing a huge amount of business off the end of Convergence. And the interesting thing is everybody that we're closing and everybody we're working with has had a Power BI direction, or at least had gone to a session at Convergence about Power BI. But they've come to realise pretty quickly that Power BI can be just part of the strategy. And a lot of the products that a lot of the solutions we're now selling to customers, Power BI will be actually integrated into the Zap solution so that some parts of the customer, such as finance, can have some Power BI self-service, while Zap will do the balance of all the corporate governance, all the data warehouse, and all the enterprise BI out to the larger community. So, look, excellent solution, works very well with Zap as a solution, probably part of most solutions going forward, but you just need to look at what's important for you as a business.
Okay, another question that came in. We hear a lot about cloud, but we're still on-premise. How does that affect our BI decision?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's one of those questions I could do another 40 minutes on. But look, I think the reality is that the majority of Dynamics customers in ERP at the moment are on-premise, and probably a good percentage now, not the majority, but a good percentage of CRM customers are starting to go online, even though there's a large number of on-premise CRM customers who will stay on-premise. As a result of that, you've got now the ability to have NAV in the cloud. You're going to have AX7 with cloud offerings or online offerings, and clearly you're going to have to think about as an organisation, where do you want your data to reside in the future? An organisation in professional services or an organisation that's an engineering shop may well see that the cloud offers excellent opportunity in the future, both from an ERP, CRM or BI point of view. An organisation that has got very deep process manufacturing, or somebody that is a government organisation using a Dynamics product, may well not believe that having their data in the cloud is the right thing for them, both efficiently or legally at the moment. So the way I'd answer that is you need to look for solutions that have got the capability and the roadmap. The Zap solution, as an example, now just released a Convergence. Zap BI7 is both cloud and also on-premise, and that gives you the opportunity to have cloud-based data stores if you need it. You need to think about what's right for you, and I'd say the majority of people at the moment are still deploying BI entirely on-premise as a result of the underlying architecture they're trying to support.
All right, I'll make a last call for questions here. Garth, maybe I just would ask you or myself about, can you just spend a couple minutes on your own company?
Yeah, sure. I didn't know I was going to get that opportunity, Jason. Very good. So Zap as an organisation, even though you wouldn't think it with this accent, is based globally out of San Francisco. We were originally Australian. We are the only global ISV working with Microsoft through the global ISV strategy. There's about 25 global ISVs. Most of those ISVs are providing industry solutions to add to enterprise and mid-market CRM and AX. Zap is the only horizontal vendor in BI that's actually now supporting that initiative, where we're building out industry solutions with Microsoft and with partners across all sorts of industry solutions, from retail to oil services to professional services to automotive, and the list goes on. So we're very highly integrated into the Microsoft ecosystem. We have offices in the US, in Europe and Asia Pacific, and as a business we're now working very closely with Microsoft around the integration of our products into both CRM and AX. We're actually currently deploying a Microsoft virtual machine image with Dynamics AX and Zap together. And in general, I think it would be fair to say that we're probably now seen as the premier solution for mid-market enterprise BI for AX, CRM and NAV globally. So I'd love for any of you to, if nothing else, give us an opportunity to talk to you. If we lose your business business, that's fine. It would be terrible not to get an opportunity to have an opportunity to actually deliver some business with you. That's all we ever ask. So don't want to do too much of an infomercial. That's not what it's about. But please just get hold of us. We've got hundreds of reference customers, and that's what makes us probably a little bit different.
Okay, well, we are at the end of our question queue. With that, we will start to wrap up here. Everyone, please be on the lookout for a very brief survey that will pop up. We'd love your feedback. If you have any other questions for Garth or for us, we're happy to take those in the survey as well. With that, I'm going to conclude today's session. Thanks, and have a great day.